I wanted to make a New Year's resolution to spend more time with my family and to start seriously working out. But instead, I dedicated myself to finding the best and worst movies on every streaming platform so you don't have to use your brain. I've done all the work for you. So without further ado, admittedly, I'm kind of mad at Amazon right now because apparently they're going to be adding in commercials to the movies and shows we've been watching that are ad-free, and we're going to be paying the same amount. So I'm not the biggest fan of Amazon right now, but we're here for the movies, so let's get into it. The best movie on Amazon Prime right now is Interstellar. This movie does everything right. The acting, the storytelling, the tension building, the score and the cinematography, everything is basically perfect. It's definitely the best new story in the sci-fi genre, even though that little robot TARS freaks me out. And there are two scenes about this movie that I want to point out that are especially good. The first one is when they're driving the truck through the cornfields chasing the drone. The music and the cinematography in this scene is out of this world. Pun kind of intended. Also, the scene where Matthew McConaughey is reading the messages from home is just so heartbreaking as he misses out on his children's entire lives. Also, Matthew McConaughey did an absolutely amazing job in his role because, I mean, when you think of Matthew McConaughey, you typically think of,
all right.
not, someone who's flying through space doing these amazing dramatic sequences. Christopher Nolan really knocked it out of the park with this movie. Now for the worst movie on Amazon Prime, I think it might be Saltburn. I don't really think this is the worst movie on Amazon Prime, but everyone's talking about it, so I feel like I need to as well. It's probably not the worst movie, but it made me so uncomfortable. It's not really a horror movie, it's not really a drama, it's not really a comedy or a coming-of-age tale. It's something else entirely, and I don't really think I liked it, but I also kind of liked it. If you've seen this movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen this movie, you might need to watch it once, but then never again. This movie stars Barry Keoghan and Jacob Elordi, and if you're a fan of either of those actors, then it's probably worth watching. Now for the actual worst movie on Amazon Prime, we have Cocaine Bear. This was the worst waste of an hour and 35 minutes of my life that I'm never gonna get back. The premise of this movie is that it's loosely based on the story of an American black bear that died after ingesting several kilograms of lost cocaine. The gore in this movie is bad. The story, non-existent. The effects, dismal. If you're a 14-year-old boy that likes to pull the wings off of flies, then you might enjoy this movie. Otherwise, don't waste your time. Hulu. I remember when you were just a baby. There were no live sports, no Rick and Morty, and definitely no good movies. Just a place to watch somewhat new TV shows. And now, Hulu is home to some of the best new series out there, even beating out a lot of HBO's new shows. If you haven't watched The Bear or Welcome to Wrexham, you're missing out. But we're not here for TV shows. We're here for the movies. And Hulu is kind of lacking in the movie department. There's some pretty good original movies on Hulu like Prey or Palm Springs, but most of their film content is outdated or unoriginal, with the exception of a few. My personal opinion for the best movie on Hulu is Edge of Tomorrow, starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. When Earth falls under attack from aliens, no military unit in the world is able to beat them. Tom Cruise is assigned to a suicide mission, killed within moments, and finds himself thrown into a time loop, in which he relives the same brutal fight and his death over and over again. So basically, this movie is Groundhog Day, but with aliens and a lot more explosions. Also, I do like this movie more than Groundhog Day, even though I love Bill Murray. And if this movie sounds weird, it's because it is. But if you like sci-fi and you like Bill Murray, Tom Cruise, then you'll definitely like this movie too. Also, honorable mention for Hulu is Elf, starring Will Ferrell. This is definitely my favorite Christmas movie of all time. I know it's not the best movie in a technical sense, but I just have so much nostalgia for it, and it never fails to make me laugh. It was also directed by Jon Favreau, who's done great work at Disney and on Star Wars shows like The Mandalorian, so it's definitely up my avenue. Also, as a dad to a toddler and a 6-month-old, this movie really speaks to me in certain ways.
Did you sleep okay last night?
Great. I got a full 40 minutes.
Now for the worst movie on Hulu, and that's Knowing, starring Nicolas Cage. I don't really remember much of this movie other than that it gave me nightmares. From what I remember, basically this movie is about Nicolas Cage finding little clues to when the world is gonna end and be hit by a giant asteroid. So obviously, little 4th grader me was terrified that an asteroid was gonna come and hit the Earth and kill just me out of everybody here. So definitely don't feel like you need to watch this. It's a bit of a waste of time and it'll give you nightmares. HBO Max. Actually, it's just Max now, right? Okay, Max is home to some of the best and worst movies you can find on any streaming platform. I'm looking at you, Flash. But I had a really hard time choosing the best movie on Max, so I went with 2. First up, we have Avatar 2, which is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. Even though the first movie was basically a ripoff of Pocahontas, I still loved it so much. I remember sitting in the IMAX theater for the first time with the 3D glasses on and the ashes falling down when the tree fell over and being able to feel the ashes in my hands basically. That's how immersive these movies can be. Definitely some of the best CGI out of any movie I've ever seen, especially the underwater scenes. I mean, just compare this to the Aquaman movies. It's a night and day difference. And for the second best movie on Max, we have The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, aka Battinson. There's so much to love about this movie. I made an entire video about it. If you're interested, you can check it out. I'll put it in the description below. Now for the worst movie on Max, we have Meg 2, The Trench. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I haven't actually seen this movie. I saw the first one and Jason Statham did an okay job. He's fine. He's not everyone's cup of tea. He's not certainly mine, but he's pretty good at what he does, which is, you know, be the badass guy that fights a giant shark. And I'm sure that's exactly what he did in the second movie, but I just have no interest in seeing it. So unless you're my dad bored on a Wednesday night, you probably don't want to watch this movie. If you've seen it and you disagree though, let me know and I guess I'll watch it. Apple TV Plus. Sometimes I forget you exist. The margin between this platform's best and worst movies is pretty small because there's really just not much content on here. Sure, there's some really good TV shows like Ted Lasso and Severance, but when it comes to movies, it's pretty limited. So for the best movie by a very small margin is Spirited, a Christmas movie starring Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. This movie actually made me laugh quite a bit, and I always love a good musical. The movie had some pretty funny songs, including my personal favorite, Good Afternoon. And for the worst movie on Apple TV Plus, we have Ghosted, starring Chris Evans and Ana de Armas. The synopsis for this movie is: Cole falls head over heels for enigmatic Sadie, but then makes the shocking discovery that she's a secret agent. Before they can decide on a second date, Cole and Sadie are swept away on an international adventure to save the world. It's really one of the most predictable movies ever. Obviously, they're gonna fall in love in the end. That's how these movies go. It's not that terrible. It's just that there's not much content on Apple TV Plus, so it doesn't have anything worse than it. But if you like Chris Evans and Ana de Armas, then go ahead, watch this movie. You might enjoy it. The Giant, Netflix. Isn't it crazy how we went from ordering DVDs in the mail from this tiny company to the biggest streaming platform in the world? I remember getting Shrek 2 in a paper sleeve when I was about 8 years old and being the happiest third grader on the planet for exactly 12 seconds until I realized they had sent Madagascar Escape to Africa instead of Shrek. Still an acceptable movie for an 8-year-old, but that's besides the point. We're here to find the best movies on Netflix, and let me tell you, this was pretty tough. So instead of one, I again chose two, both of which star one of my favorite actors, Timothée Chalamet, known for the rest of this video only as Timmy. The best movie on Netflix is Dune. Definitely one of my favorite movies of all time, and it has Timothée Chalamet, so you can't go wrong. The cinematography, the score, the action, everything about this movie was perfect in my opinion, and it really sets it up for the next movie. And in case you're wondering, no, I haven't read the book, and that's probably why I love it so much, because I don't know all the differences between the book and the movie where they mess things up. But in my opinion, this movie is amazing, and I can't wait for Dune Part 2. For the second movie that Timmy stars in on Netflix, we have The King. It's basically like Game of Thrones, but without dragons or the 8th season, so it's actually good. And it's a movie. It has battle scenes that rival like the Battle of the Bastards or scenes in Braveheart, and it also has really great acting and a dramatic core that keeps the entire story together. Definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it. And for the worst movie on Netflix,
it's Morbin time.
No, actually, the worst movie on Netflix is Hubie Halloween. Now, I'm a fan of Adam Sandler. He can be a really great dramatic actor. Just take a look at Uncut Gems or Hustle. He's done some really great work over the past few years, and this one just really did not make the mark. Hubie Halloween took all the worst from his goofy movies like Waterboy and Happy Gilmore and put together a poorly written joke of a film that would have maybe been okay as a simple 3-minute sketch. Not really worth your time unless you're bored and you really love Adam Sandler. I have never been more thankful for a streaming platform than I am for Disney Plus. The company's ability to completely tame my unstoppable wild toddler with an animated movie about toys that come to life or about talking cars is outmatched by none. And for Disney Plus's best movie, we have Ratatouille, Pixar's magnum opus, their best work of all time. While it may not be their most popular movie, I mean, they've only got one ride at Disney, it's definitely their best that they've made. The story, the music, and the stunning animation are all fantastic, and I can make an entire video about this movie alone, so we'll have to save that for another day. It is amazing. Give it a watch if you haven't seen it yet. Also, an honorable mention for Disney Plus is Hamilton. This is obviously one of the best and most popular musicals to hit the mainstream in years, and the version we got on Disney Plus was really well filmed and edited, so it's definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it too. Now, for the worst movie on Disney Plus, Cars 2. This movie was completely unnecessary. It was a waste of Pixar's resources. They could have been working on better things like, I don't know, Inside Out 3. It wholly detracted from the main character arc between the films for Lightning McQueen. A spy thriller just really doesn't make sense in the world of Cars. This one is my son's favorite of the trilogy, but he's 2, so don't listen to what he says. Cars 1 and 3 are amazing, Cars 2 sucks. Let's keep moving. Now that we know the best and worst movie on every streaming service, it's time to announce my take, the most important opinion in the world, on the best and worst of all the streaming platforms. For the best, we have Hulu. They have such a huge selection, some pretty great movies, and some of the best TV out there. Also, don't forget live sports. This platform has everything you could want out of a streamer. And for the worst streaming platform, we have Apple TV Plus. There's just really not much to offer there. There's nothing too terrible, but also nothing really noteworthy that'll pull it out of the muck. And that's it. Let me know in the comments if you watch any of these movies and like them. And if you disagree with anything I said today, that's okay. You're entitled to your own wrong opinion. Subscribe for more and check out this video if you want to keep watching. Thanks. Bye.